Are you ready to talk life, sports, and everything in between? Well, if so, hop on the train and let's go! Yo, what's up? Welcome to Life, Sports, and Everything in Between. I am your host, Mr. David Dredd, and I just want to take a few moments to talk about a few things I heard today. The Kwame Brown saga. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but Kwame Brown was a number one draft pick back in 2001. That's actually the year I graduated. Shout out to Morris Tigers. But he was the number one draft pick. And as of lately, he's been labeled as what we like to call a bust. And a bust is simply this. It's simply when you're destined or predestined rather to be a big name, a big star, bigger than life, and you actually turn out to live up under those means or live up under that standard. They call you a bust. So we have many different people who we've considered bust that have come through the league. What people might say or what sports analysts might say. I know Greg Oden, a lot of people consider him a bust. And there are many different others, people who came out and either they were plagued by injuries or they just didn't live up to the status quo of what a number one draft pick should be. So what the latest drama is Stephen A. Smith and Matt Barnes have a podcast called All the Smoke, and it's a podcast in which they don't hold back. They come for whomever, and in this particular episode, they were talking about Kwame Brown. And listen, Kwame Brown was here for all of it. You hear me? He wanted all the smoke, and he fired back. And it's actually interesting. I've never heard Kwame Brown speak. Maybe I didn't follow him closely enough, but to actually hear some of the things that he had to say, it just kind of opened your eyes. Kwame Brown, I know a lot of people label him as a bust. I know Stephen A. Smith had a video back in 2008 when he got traded from the Lakers, and Stephen A. Smith is going in. You could YouTube that video. He's going in. I think it was like back in February or something like that. And Stephen A. is going in on Kwame Brown and how the Lakers should be glad they traded him. I believe they had traded him for either, I think it was Paul Gasol. I think it was. They had traded him for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I believe that was the year the Lakers went on to win the championship that year when they traded him. But Stephen A. Smith is going in about how awful he is. He has small hands and he's clumsy and his feet just can't get his footwork right, and just, many different things that he had to say about Kwame. So I've never heard Kwame fire back. But boy, when I tell you he had time today, Kwame Brown fires back. Now granted, Kwame Brown was a 12-year vet, 6'11", 290 pounds. So if you're a numbers guy, you'll look at his numbers and say perhaps maybe he was a bust. But Kwame, he had an interesting point. If you go back and look at his video, watch his video on Instagram, I think it's on YouTube as well. In his video, he says, anyone who makes it to the NBA is not a bust. He said, because you had to be to a certain level to even make it to the NBA, let alone go number one. Now, Kwame came straight out of high school as a number one draft pick, straight out of high school. So his argument is, how can you call me a bust when I made it? He says, that means I had to be head and shoulders over everyone else that was in my particular field. And I made it. He says, now granted, when you do get to the NBA, there are certain levels in the NBA. He says some people are on higher levels than others, but no one is a bust that makes it to the league. And that point stood out to me because I'm saying, like, think about it. There's a very small, I don't know right offhand, but there's a very small percentage of players that actually enter the draft that actually make it. Let alone all the people who have aspirations to be in the league or to make it to the NBA. A lot of people end up going to play overseas or different places because why NBA is one of the bigger markets as far as fans. It's a really hard market to make it in. It's one of the most difficult spots, difficult places. I have a lot of friends who aspire to be to go to play professional ball. Some of them had to go overseas. Some of them just kind of give up on their dreams because there's so much that comes with that whole lifestyle. I mean, a lot of the politics behind it. And so his point made a lot of sense that for me to get to where I was, how can you call me a bust? But according to, society and what we've labeled good and the bust. Now, granted, if you look at his numbers, he was a guy who averaged over his career. Now, mind you, this is a 290-pound, 6'11". Many labeled him as a seven foot player. He only averaged 6 points over his whole career, and he played for 12 years. He was a 12-year vet. He averaged 6 points and 5 rebounds. Now, to me, if I'm a numbers guy, I'm going to say that's unacceptable when you're that big to only average 5 rebounds over your career and 6 points. His first year he came out, he averaged 4 points a game and 3.5 rebounds. His second year he got a little bit better. He went from 4 points to 7 points and 5 rebounds per game. His third year, this is all with the Washington Wizards. Mind you, he was drafted by the Washington Wizards, #1 pick. His third year he averaged 11 points and 7 rebounds, which was probably his best year. Was his third year with Washington. He was actually averaging double digits as far as points was concerned, and 7 rebounds. And then the fourth year is when things got kind of took more of a downhill slant, where he averaged 7 points, 5 rebounds, and then he was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. And so you can see his numbers kind of the same here: 7 points, 6 rebounds, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 5 points, 5 rebounds. To be a #1 draft pick, someone who was #1, prospect, somebody who was supposed to really just dominate. You look at these numbers and you say, yeah, Kwame, this this does look like bust numbers for a #1 draft pick, But again, he has an interesting point, how can I be a bust if I made it here? So the saga that's going on right now is Matt Barnes and Stephen Jackson. Stephen Jackson, Matt Barnes, and on this particular episode was also what is his name? Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. Here, I'll look it up real quick. Have it on the tip of my tongue. It was Stephen A. Smith. It was Stephen Jackson, Matt Barnes, and he played for the Wizards. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this. I'll look it up though. 1 second. And when I say his name, you're going to be like, oh, Dave, how do you not remember that, right? He was such an integral part of the Washington Wizards. Just drawing a super. Gilbert Arenas. Oh, my God. Gilbert Arenas. And we know Gilbert Arenas has always been a very vocal person. And they're going in on Kwame about. And to a degree, I get where Kwame's coming from, because he said Matt Barnes act like he was cool with him, but he was really trying to throw shade. He even referred to Matt Barnes as she, he referred to him as somebody who's light-skinned, who didn't really fit in with the black people because he wasn't dark enough, and he didn't really fit in with the white people because he wasn't white enough. So he's just confused is what Kwame Brown labels him as. And he comes for everybody. He comes for Stephen Smith. I keep saying Stephen Smith. He comes for Stephen Jackson. And says, how can you promote Black Lives Matter, but then you tear black people down? You're acting like you're still a gangster. He comes for them. He talks about the stories in which he helped rescue Gilbert Arenas and just all the trouble Gilbert Arenas got in. You guys gotta go check out the interview. I want to hear your comments. Go check out the interview. Check it out, because he comes for them. But I must say this: after watching the interview, I do have a newfound respect for Kwame Brown in a different way, because I never really followed Kwame Brown like that. All I know is that he wasn't my favorite center for the Lakers. I wasn't too fond of his game. And granted, that's just me. That's my preference. I wasn't fond of his game. However, just some of the things he says. Now, he does use some quite vulgar language. So for those of you who have sensitive ears, I just want to give you that precursor that he does use some vulgar language. But some of the things he says, he makes a lot of sense about how we should be, especially as black men, how we should be building each other up. Now, he's asking Stephen A. I keep saying that he's asking Stephen Smith Steven Jackson, Lord Jesus. He's asking Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and Gilbert Arenas to bring him on the show. He said, if y'all say y'all want all the smoke, like, he said, y'all should change your name from All the Smoke to Some of the Smoke. He said, because how can y'all want all the smoke and the person you want the smoke with, you won't even bring him on the show to say his side of things. So Steven Jackson comes on there and says, hey, we don't want the smoke, Kwame. We know what you're trying to do. We know that right now our podcast is hot. You're trying to use our podcast as a means to give you a platform. We're not going to give you that platform. So yeah, you're right. We don't want the smoke. Go on about your business. And Kwame's like, look, all I'm saying is if you're going to talk about me, because there's been a few episodes that they've actually talked about him, and he said he didn't say anything. But I think this was like the straw that brought the camel's back. He's like, look, if y'all got something to say, let me come on. Let me say my piece as well. And so that's the thing. I personally say, hey, if you got a problem or if you guys are calling the man out, bring the man on the show. But Steven Jackson's like, nah, you're not about to get none of our shine, because right now we're like one of the hottest podcasts, and this is your way. Like, if you even look, Kwame Brown, I think, has about 13,000 followers on Instagram, which is not considered a lot for someone who's an NBA star, whereas others are having hundreds of thousands or millions of people following him. He only has 13,000 people following him. So they're saying, well, that you're trying to take a piece of our stage to try to, add to your stage, and we're not going to give you that. So I'm personally rooting that they do digress off of that and go ahead and allow him to come on and be a part and talk it out. And let's hear both sides. Bring all sides to the table, because Kwame Brown has some quite interesting things to say. And he doesn't cross me as a guy who... don't pass me the ball. I'm sorry. He doesn't cross me as the guy who seems like he comes off blowing smoke or lying or have anything to lie about or have anything to kind of embellish about. It seems like he's talking straight, shooting straight from the hip, talking straight truth. And so it's a really, really interesting interview. I advise you guys to go back and check it out, listen to it. I'd like to hear your thoughts, feelings on that, on the whole Kwame Brown saga. Again, I have a newfound respect for him, just in terms not necessarily of his basketball skill, but just in the terms of the man that he portrays that he wants to be. Not somebody who wants to build people up, not somebody who wants to promote unity, not division. Now, his way of going about doing this was, a lot of people arguing on social media about how he could have done better, how he could have taken the high road. And I think Kwame's like, man, I'm tired of being beat up, I'm tired of being bullied, I'm tired of being talked about for years. Every time there's a joke, you guys want to make me the center of the joke. I never say anything. I let it go. Now I'm coming out, and now he said he has something that he's putting together. He's putting together some type of YouTube highlight or something like that, in which he's coming for everybody who came for him. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see this. There'll be more coming back as we cover the story. As more news unravels, we'll come back here and we'll talk about it right here on Live Sports and everything in between. Until next time, peace.